You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN E-Mini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things E-Mini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro. Joining us today, Mr. Michael Borth. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Thursday, 28th day of April, 2022. Thanks so much for joining us. Whoever you are, wherever you are, we're just glad to have you right here, right now. We have two broadcasts every day, one private, one public. Our private broadcast is our live training room, which is open for our members and those on the free trial from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Eastern every trading day. We take a 30-minute break and then we go live to anybody and everybody around the world at 12 noon Eastern. Now there's two ways to join the show. The best way to join the show is to go to our homepage at cfrn.net. On the right-hand side of the page, click the big microphone, follow the instructions. You'll be registered in about 30 seconds, and that will give you one-click access to the show each and every day. It also gives you access to the chat box so that you can ask questions and participate in the discussion. Of course, there will be times when you're out of the office, away from your desktop, but you still want to join the show. Piece of cake. Grab any internet-connected browser and simply point it to youtube.com/CFRN. Not only do we broadcast live each and every day on our YouTube channel, we also archive each and every daily show. Currently, there are over 2,000 daily live broadcasts archived for your educational and viewing pleasure. So let's open with a word of prayer. Our scripture today is Deuteronomy 31:6. Be strong and of good courage. Do not fear nor be afraid of them. For the Lord your God, He is the one who goes with you. He will not leave you nor forsake you. Now this verse consists of words spoken to Israel as they were on the verge of entering into their new land, of settling into their promised home. They had been wandering the past 40 years in the wilderness, living in tents, because their fathers had not trusted God enough. Now, though, it was time for the next generation to claim God's promise. Excited as they may have been, taking their next steps meant facing some very real enemies. They needed to stay focused and do some really hard things they had never done before. Now it was time to stir up their strength, their courage, and their faith as they were reminded of who their God was and how much He truly cared for them. So many things in this world can strike fear in our hearts today, but we can absolutely take encouragement from the pages of Scripture. We can see how Israel took to heart these words from Moses, moved forward, and took over most of the land God had promised them in just 7 years. The Israelites were able to move forward, to fight, because they reminded themselves to be strong and of good courage. Do not fear, nor be afraid of them. We too can build up our courage as we push down our fear. But really, only to a certain point on our own strength. The Israelites were only truly able to succeed to victory because they absolutely embraced this truth from the end of the verse. For the Lord your God, He is the one who goes with you. He will not leave you nor forsake you. Those words give us the reason why they were able to completely move past their trembling knees, pounding hearts, and the what if racing thoughts. The Israelites took to heart the word, your God. His presence was with them. He was not a far-off, uninvolved God. He would not leave them. He would not forsake them. The word forsake means to abandon. God would not do that because they belonged to Him. These words are powerful words for us too when we are facing challenging circumstances in our lives, like my traffic court date in the morning. I've got to remember to be strong, to be of good courage, to not fear, to not be afraid, because the Lord our God will go with me. He will not leave me. He will not forsake me. So no matter what battle you're facing today, take these words to heart. Fight those fearful thoughts with the truth that God is with you. God will not leave you. God will not abandon you because you belong to Him. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for the promise that this verse gives to our faith. This is a powerful reminder that you are with us in every situation that we face. We can be strong. We can be filled with courage. We can go into any tough situation knowing that we do not need to have any fear because you are with us. We can cling to the promise that you will never leave us or forsake us because you are our God. Lord, increase our faith as we trust you to be God in every area of our life. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. And amen. Well, happy Thursday. Hope it's a happy Thursday for you, whoever you are, wherever you are. Let me give you the numbers from around the world. We'll start here in the U.S. with the cash markets, or the indices as they're called. The Dow is currently up 123 points. The NASDAQ is up 74. The S&P 500 is up 31. But our man in the street, the Russell 2000, is down 11. So no real movers or shakers in the bunch. And of course the Russell, the only one in the red. In the commodity basket, crude oil up $1.79, trading $103.85 last. That's a gain of almost 2%. Gold down $2.20, trading $18.8650 last. Silver down 45 cents, trading $23.02 last. That's a drop of almost 2%. And if you're trading one silver futures contract, that's a drop of about $2,500 per contract traded. In the Asian markets at the close, Nikkei posted a gain of 461 points. That's 1 3/4%. The Shanghai gained 17. The Hang Seng gained 329. which is a gain of over 1.5%. And in the European markets at the close, FTSE posted a gain of 83 points. That's a little over 1%. The DAX posted a gain of 185 points, which is almost 1.5%. And the CAC gained 62 points, which is just shy of 1%. So, it was a green day in Asia. It was a green day in the UK. But so far, it's a mixed Radio Thursday here in the US of A, with 3 of the major indices, the Dow, the Nasdaq, and the S&P in the green, but the Russell is in the red, not by a lot, well, a little over 0.5%, 11 points. A reminder, Garrett will be joining us in the second hour of the show today. And as I mentioned, I'll be out tomorrow morning because I'll be in traffic court explaining my side of the story to your honor and the court. So with that, we'll go to Michael if he's ready and get a recap of what happened this morning in the live training room. Once he's finished, I'll be back. We'll take a look at the Logic 247 alerts for the week. We'll take a look at the concierge trade alerts from last night. And at any point during the broadcast today, if you have a question, just type it into the question box and we'll be very happy to answer any questions that you have. So Michael, if you're ready, you can take it away. And if you're not quite ready, that's okay, because I'll grab the recap that Valerie just sent me. And we'll go ahead and get this part out of the way. I just have to copy it, paste it, format it for my screen, and then I can share it with you. And that'll just take a second. And again, when Michael's done, we'll go to the daily chart of the S&P. And we'll walk through each one of the individual markets that we cover, both with the logic and the concierge trade alerts. And I'm almost done formatting. There we go. Okay. All right. Just in case you're new, Logic 247 is our around-the-clock, 24/7 Emini alert service, which also includes gold, crude, silver, and the euro. The Logic alerts start Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern when the global markets open, and the alert channel remains open around the clock 24/7 until Friday afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern when the global markets close. We have traders around the world, so our day session is their night session and vice versa. We're currently in week 195 since we launched Logic 247. And since we launched Logic 247, we've issued over 10,300 individual alerts. This week so far, we've issued a total of 65 alerts. 16 never triggered. Still waiting on the outcome of 9. We've had 40 actionable alerts, of which 7 or 18% would have been stopped out based on not risking more than $300 per contract per trade, less when possible, based on market structure and a very simple 3-step process that we teach all of our traders. Now, along with the logic alerts, which are based on current price action and, as I said, come out around the clock. We still have our original alert service, the concierge trade alerts. And these are different in a couple of ways. These are based on historic price action, whereas logic is based on current price action. And when historic price action meets current price action, that's where you'll find some of your best high probability, low risk trade opportunities. Using the S&P as an example, when this report came out last night for our members at 6:45 p.m. Eastern, 45 minutes after the open, you probably don't trade all the markets, but you go to the chart of the markets you do trade, your 30-minute chart. Draw a line in the sand at 42.20, draw a line in the sand at 41.93, and make note of where price is at the time the report is published. Because if price starts trending up towards 42.20, that's bullish. So our strategy will look for opportunities to be long the market. And if price starts trending down towards 41.93, that's bearish. So our strategy will look for opportunities to be short the market. Now this is where you will use Logic 247 and everything you learn from Michael and Valerie in the live training room every day to yourself find opportunities to be long or short the market. And it sounds like Michael has joined us.
Yes.
So we will,
I have indeed.
Pass the torch over to him. He'll give us a recap of everything that happened this morning in the live training room. I'll be back. We'll go through the logic alerts. We just went through them. We'll walk through all of the charts from the concierge trade alerts. We'll look at the daily chart. And then Garrett will join us at the top of the hour.
Okay, here it's coming over to me.
Yep.
Now. There we go.
All right. I can see your screen. I'll hit mute on my end. And I will be here when you're done.
Excellent. All right. Here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Thursday, the 28th day of April 2022. Partners meet tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Just a reminder for everyone. If you have any questions, email them in ahead of time, and we'll get to them first. Okay? All right. So if you've not taken a free trial with us, go to eminitrainingschool.com. Scroll down to right here. While we ask for is your first name, your email, and your phone number. You can tell us your biggest training challenge so we can tailor one-on-one training just for you. Hit the send button, you'll be sent a confirmation link. You must click on that confirmation link. Okay? If you don't click the link, we don't know that you took the free trial. So make sure you click on that link. Okay? Okay. That said, let's get to the spreadsheet. So tomorrow is the last day. I was really hoping to get above the daily average today so I could end the month at over $1,000 per day average, but I'm going to have to have a really good day tomorrow for that to happen. I did more talking this morning than I did actually trading, and I think that was my downfall. I was off by just a little bit. But anyway, if you're going to read the spreadsheet, you can read all the CFTC risk disclosures down the bottom. Today's the 28th day of April. 2022, we made 31 ticks in crude, 26 ticks in gold, and 31 ticks on the ES. Put us at 957.5 on the morning session. Today it took 5 minutes and 2 trades to get to the goal for the day. At that point, we're up $100 a contract, and we took a total of 30 trades this morning. So on the month now, we're up $18,890 a contract. That's over 19 trading days, averaging $994 per contract per 2-hour trading day. We've now gone 143 days since our last negative day. That's 143 business days. And we've gotten our goal in 81 out of 81 days so far this year, putting us at $88,798 a contract, averaging $1,096 per contract per 2-hour trading day. If you were to quit trading when you got your goal for the day, and you were to add 1 contract a month, then, well, as of right now, you would have only had to work 11.35 hours so far this year, and you would have averaged $2,296 per hour. Okay, $2,296 per hour. All right, so let's get into the actual trades. Most of the trades today were in gold, it turns out. So we'll start with the ES. I had the fewest and work our way over to gold. Like this weekly trading zone right here turned out to be a big deal today. And you'll see we went through it and through it and through it again. Scroll all the way back to the beginning. Hang on, I'm almost there. Okay, so here it was on the ES. When we started out our first trade here on the ES, I believe we picked up 7 ticks on that first one and 1 tick on the second one. That is where I finally got the goal for the day. Now, the last 2 days in a row, I've had to shut off and restart DT Pro as soon as the markets opened up, because for some reason it started chewing up memory as soon as I started it back up. I mean, as soon as the markets opened back up at 9:30, both days. So I hope that doesn't happen tomorrow, but we'll see. Anyway, I got the +8 right there, and then I stopped out right here and went right back down to 0. There was one more trade right in here that I missed. That would have been a nice trade to take, but I missed it. And I stopped out on this one, pretty much to the tick. It eventually went up and got me to the point where I probably could have gotten out of break even. And then it went sideways in here, got kind of ugly, and went right down to the zone. On this one here, we had it break even. We did have some pretty good profit in it, but we ended up with a break even. Then it kind of hovered for a while, and we didn't do too much until way over here. We picked up 12 ticks on this one, if I remember right. No, somewhere in there we picked up, oh wait, no, I picked up 16 ticks on this one. Somewhere in here, though, we picked up 1 tick. I don't know, it might have been on that trade. We picked up 1 tick to get from 0 to 1. And then we picked up 16 ticks right here to get us to 17. Missed a trade there. And let me, you know what, just let me go see who all is in here right now. All right. And look at that very quick too. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the numbers were showing up today, you know, places that it should go to if it was going to go in that direction, and it was getting to them eventually. It's taken a while. Like this one down here took forever. This one down here got really close but didn't quite make it. But after we were at 17, then we picked up, this was 3-point trade. We picked up 17 to 25. So somewhere in here we went from 17 to 25. That might have been this trade right here. I think it was. And oh, that was that larger trade. Okay, this is something that I went over. I had shut the charts off and I said right here, it looks like the markets are probably going to go down on the ES, but I'm not sure. This was a moment in time where I shut everything off and I said, at this moment in time right here, this is what it looks like the markets are going to do. And I explained everything why. I'm going to do that tomorrow during this session tomorrow. I'll just wait until I finish with the recap and I'm just going to shut everything off and I'll go over what I think the market's going to do next, explaining the reasons for everything that I think. And then we'll turn it back on and see what it actually did do. Okay. People seem to like it when I do a moment in time like that. So right here, there were a couple of opportunities here. There was one off the BBC right here. Could have gone long there. And it looks like another one off the BBC here that I wouldn't have done because the cycle was too flat. But both highest probability trades, this one here, same thing. And that was all before the end of the session. Okay, so right here, I believe, is where we went from 25 to 31. So we picked up 6 ticks there and had a break even right there. I was looking for it to get up to this level here, and it doesn't look like it did it. Nope, not during the time we're in the room. At the end of the session, I was trying to get those last few ticks that I needed to get to the daily average. I wanted to get above the daily average to try to rise it up just a little bit, but it didn't work out, and I ran out of time. Let's see, highest probability trades during the break. We had this big run up right here, but we didn't have a whole bunch of trades there. And you see how the cycle got flat in the middle? It was trying to do a cycle reset in here. See how we had bearish separation, stayed above the BBC. Didn't quite make it. More bearish separation, more bearish separation, more bearish separation. All this time staying above the BBC. So it had a pretty good momentum run right there that just didn't give you any more opportunity. The only opportunity would have been right in here, there, and here. Would have been the only places I would have traded in that. Anyway, that was the ES. We ended up with plus 31 on the ES. Okay. And hello, Jeff. And the crude. All right, so we started out here with crude, and on our first trade, we picked up 3 ticks right here. And it looks like I didn't do anything for a few minutes here. Yeah, for a while there on crude, it looks like I didn't do anything. There was a trade there, There had to be a trade in here somewhere. Yeah, a trade right there. Anyway, I picked up 3 more ticks here to get me to +5. No, I had 3 to begin with and 2 here to get me to +5, then 1 more here to get me to +6. Then I think I was talking about the trades in here, and this is where we got to, I was talking about how all this, what I was looking for as the markets were doing all this. So I didn't take any of these trades, but I was talking about them as they were happening and showing on the DOM how to read the DOM right here. And then we had our moment in time right here. And over here, I said, I think the market's going to go up. That's why I had the arrow going up. And it did, in fact, go up. It went higher than I thought it was going to go. I thought we were going to get a pullback at some point and then go up some more. But we kept going up right then. Did it give any good trade setups? Well, not until... No, not really. It turned around and started going down and gave a trade setup in here on the pushback down. Another one right in here. Okay, so I mean, right now on the crude, I think we're only at +6, right? And then we had a big trade coming up here somewhere, right here. That got us 16 ticks. That got us to +22. Okay, and then we went from 22 to 32. We picked up 10 ticks right there. We missed a couple of nice trades right through here. Had a break even, then a stop out. We went from 32. Oh, somewhere in here we picked up 3 more ticks and got to 35, and then went from 35 down to 27. Then went from 27 to 31 right here, and I believe that is where we ended it. That was the last 4 tick trade we took on crude. Now, during the break, let's see, during the break, 1 highest probability trade right there. Second highest probability trade in here. We didn't have the slingshot rate for this one. One right here. Now the slingshot was not pretty on this one, but it did turn out to be the highest probability trade. And was this one right in here? This was one right in here that did not work out. Right, that's unusual. It doesn't work out. This one right here worked out okay. And this one right here worked out. It would have been hard to take that one, but it was the highest probability trade bounce off the BBC right there. And that was crude oil. We ended up with +31 on crude. Okay, now gold. Gold is where we had the majority of our trade setups this morning. And I'll get into that from the beginning. Here we go. All right, so right here I was saying, it's a close above the trend line. It wasn't a bounce off the BBC, it was a close above the trend line right there, but everything was red, so I didn't like it. Over here was the first trade that I did actually take. I got 1 tick on that one, a break even there, 2 ticks on that to get me to +3, a break even there, then 5 ticks to get me to +8. Then this whole thing over here, I think I got 5 ticks on to get me to +13. I went from 1 to 3 to 8 to 13 to 18. So yeah, okay. Got me to 13, then this got me to 18, then this got me to 24. Then I had a break even, and then I went from 24 to 32 right there. And then I stopped out back down to 24. This was getting toward the end of the session. This is where I was really focused and trying to get something going here. And right here, I was really thinking it was going to go up to there, and that would have been what we needed to get to where I wanted to go for the day, but we didn't end up getting that. At the very end, we had this one, and I was doing this right at the very end, taking this last trade here. So I went from 24 to 25 to 26 on these 2 trades right here. 24 to 25, 1 tick. 25 to 26, 1 tick. And I forgot what number I had on this. I believe it was 90.3 is what I was thinking this was going to go up to, but I'm not sure. I don't remember. Anyway, during the break, there was 1 highest probability trade right here. That worked out just fine, and that was the only highest probability trade during the break. Okay, so that brings us back here now. Okay, so tomorrow is the last day of the month, last business day of the month. So we're going to close out tomorrow, hopefully 20,000 even, or maybe a little more, because that would get this over 1,000. If tomorrow's the 20th day, so that's what I'm hoping for tomorrow. You can see what it's going to take for me to get that. I need to have $1,110 a contract tomorrow. We'll see if it happens. See what the markets give us. Anyway, if you're going to read the spreadsheet, you got to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today is the 28th day of April, 2022. 31 ticks in crude, 26 ticks in gold, and 31 ticks on the ES. Put us at $957 a contract on the morning session. Today, it took 5 minutes and 2 trades to get to the goal for the day. At that point, we're up $100 a contract, and we took a total of 30 trades this morning. Okay, so on the month now, let's see. On the month now, we're at $18,890 a contract. That's over 19 trading days, averaging $994 per contract per 2-hour trading day. We've now gone 143 days since our last down day, and we've gotten our goals so far this year on 81 out of 81 possible days. That puts us at $88,798 a contract, averaging $1,096 per contract per 2-hour trading day. Okay, on the year. If you were to quit trading when you got your goal for the day and you worked your way up to 1 contract additional every month, you added 1 contract a month, you'd be trading 4 right now. You would have worked a total of 11.35 hours so far this year, and you would have averaged $2,296 per hour on the year for those 11 hours. All right. All right. Now, if you've not taken a free trial and you want to, go here to eminitrainingschool.com. On this page, scroll down to here, where all we ask for is your first name, your email, and your phone number. You can tell us to speak straight and challenge so we can tailor one-on-one training just for you. Hit the send button, and you will be sent a confirmation link. You must click on that confirmation link, okay? If you don't click that link, we don't know that you took the free trial. So you got to click on it, okay? All right, guys, that is it. You have a good day too, Jeff. With that, Bart, you are not in here right now, I don't think. I'm going to send him a link now. With that, we can pass it back out to fabulous Phoenix, Arizona in Studio A overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Okay, reminder to all you guys tonight, partners meeting tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern time. If you have any questions, email them in ahead of time. Tomorrow, we'll be starting the show up this at noon. Dwayne's not going to be here. Dwayne's got some other activity he's got to go to tomorrow. And
Traffic court.
Yeah, I'm sure he's wishing he would rather be here.
Oh boy, don't you know it.
But so I'll be starting it up tomorrow, and and I'll do what I normally do.
I got my uniform together, my little khaki pants, and my little loafers with the tassel, and my button-down white polo shirt. So just want to go in looking very respectful.
Yeah, well.
And I shot a video on my iPhone showing exactly, I walked through every step of what happened. So, he could, there's a chance, I think the way it works is if the officer who wrote the ticket, now this court date got postponed, so this incident happened probably 3 months ago. If the officer who wrote the ticket doesn't show up, I think the way it works is the judge just automatically kicks it. But I'm not positive.
Well, there'll be court fees you still have to pay, but he'll usually, in the past when this has happened to me, knock on wood, it hasn't happened to me in a really, really long time. But the judge would just say, okay, well, forget the ticket and just pay court fees. Back then it was like $33 or something like that. And
well, and if the officer chooses to show up because he likes being in court, my case is very believable. It just depends on who the judge decides to believe. So.
Yeah. Well, if the officer brings anything to prove his case, ideally, I imagine what it would come down to is your word against the guy driving the trash truck. That's what it was.
Yeah, I wonder if he'll even be required to show up. Because the guy was so oblivious when he ran me off the road, and I hit my neighbor's van, which the van wasn't damaged in any way, and my neighbor confirmed that with the police officer. The the trash truck driver was so oblivious, he didn't even know he had caused an accident. I had to go chasing off down the street after him and get in front of his truck, you know, and make him stop. And he's like, "What are you, crazy?" I go, "Don't you realize what just happened back there? You ran me off the road." "I did not." I go, "Well, you better call your supervisor." I didn't think he was going to call the police, you know. I'd have probably just let it go if I'd have known it was going to turn into
A thing.
a thing. Yeah. I just wanted
Well, now,
his supervisor to know that he was behaving recklessly in our neighborhood. That blew up in my face. So, anywho, all right.
Good luck with
Recap
that
of the
tomorrow.
recap of the recap.
5 minutes, 2 trades, $100 a contract.
Good job.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. We already went over the logic results and the CTAs. But if you want to grab a screenshot of the CTAs, because we're going to walk through each one of the individual charts, you can go ahead and grab your screenshot right now. There you go. And if you were late getting here, shame on you. Just kidding. Here is where we stand so far for the week on Logic 247. 65 alerts issued since Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern. 16 never triggered. 9 waiting. 40 actionable. 7 or 18% would have been stopped out based on the $300 risk profile that I explained earlier and that we teach all of our passport holders. So, with that out of the way, we're going to go through the charts, and Garrett will be showing up here in approximately 23 minutes. So, let me get back to my CTA page on my other screen. All right, now we're ready to go to the daily chart. And here it is. Okay. We've been monitoring the last leg up. The low was put in on the Ides of March. The high was put in on March 29th. We had a retracement to the 24% fib, caught a nice bounce. Then we came down and set on the daily BBC for 3 days. BBC just stands for bull, bear, cross. When price crosses below the green line, we're bearish, anticipating lower prices. When price crosses above the green line, we're bullish, anticipating higher prices. And you can see how well that works. And it works not only on the S&P daily chart, but across all markets and all time frames. Everything we teach, every indicator we use, is fluid across all markets and all time frames. And I don't just mean all futures markets, but now with our relationship with TradingView, you can also use our strategy and indicators to trade stocks, forex, crypto, options, because all markets behave the same. Price flows from support to resistance, back to support, back to resistance, over and over, a never-ending cycle. What our indicators do is they show you where to anticipate support and where to anticipate resistance in a dynamic fashion, live in real time. The weekly trading zones become your fixed support resistance, and once they're published on Monday morning, they stay the same for the entire week. We don't change them in any way whatsoever. We've published the weekly zones since December 14th of 2009. So we have well over a decade of how price behaves around the weekly trading zones. So after we sat 3 days on support, we made our drop down to the 50% fib retracement. Support sent us looking for resistance at the 38. Back to support at the 50. And then we caught a bounce that got us above the BBC. We touched the 24% fib. when you approach it from below its potential resistance, and it was, and this turned out to be a bit of a head fake. So we've got a leg, a retracement, a leg, a retracement, and this area right here, where I highlighted last week, where we thought we would find potential support, we did, and then we spiked it, closed right above it, and then we made a dip to, this is the Thursday candle, this is a Wednesday candle, this is the Tuesday candle. Tuesday we almost took out the Ides of March low, but we didn't. Instead, leg, retrace, leg, retrace. So the question now is, will the market find resistance at red and falling? Will it push up to the 62? Or will it push all the way to the daily BBC? Those are questions I can't answer because I don't know the future. I only know what the next high probability move is based on logic and an understanding of how price flows. So whatever market you trade, you might not even trade the S&P. You might trade crude or gold or Google or the euro, whatever. You should start out your trading session with a look at the daily chart. Get an understanding of what the deep pockets are looking at. Okay, I'm talking fund managers, institutions, etc. Because it's those big players in the market that move price. Yesterday we had a very unusual rally in about the last 15 minutes of the market, last 20 minutes of the market. A time that is typically pretty quiet. This rally just came out of nowhere, and there's no way retail buyers made that move happen. And so as we go to the 30-minute chart, now remember, we're up against resistance. This area that we thought would be support and was, has an opportunity to now become resistance, and we've got red and falling right overhead, but we are at just about the high of the session. So let's go to the S&P 30-minute. This was that rally. This was the closing candle, the final 30 minutes from 4:30 to 5 p.m. Eastern yesterday. This little red candle is the first opening candle last night. So the last hour really took us from a low down around 41.70 all the way up to a high around 42.16, and then we closed the session. I can't get it because that line's there, around 42.11, 42.12. Okay, so I said this last night. Somebody knows something that we don't know. And then we talked about how this could potentially become an incredible head fake. And here's what really happened. We opened, we came down to the weekly trading zone. When price drops to the zone, we expect it to be support until proven otherwise. Red and falling turned to blue and climbing. We climbed right up to the CTA trigger at 42.20. And we put in a high at 42.58. So that's 38 S&P points at $50 a point. That's $1,900 per contract traded from the published entry to the high. Now, price then, because it ran into resistance, remember when price finds resistance, and that resistance came off this swing high right here. When the market finds resistance, it's going to go look for support. So it came back down, and it hit this trend line that I had drawn in yesterday, I believe. Yeah, yesterday I drew this trend line in. And so we came down, we triggered the short CTA, and we dropped to 41.83. So that's 10 points $50 a point, $500 per contract traded. Then price got back above the zone, triggered again, and now we've got a double top on the session. The high of this candle is 42.59. So this was 38 points, this is 39 points. Now the trade to target is the weekly trading zone overhead. However, let me caution you that this area right here where the bearish cross took place, which is roughly 42.50, let's be conservative and call it 42. Let's be real conservative and call it, well, don't be that conservative. 42.80 to 42.85 is potential resistance. Whenever there's a bearish cross that leads to an extended move, the first time price revisits that area, it's almost always resistance. Same is true of a bullish cross. First time price revisits that area, it's almost always good support. So it really looks like price wants to make it to that weekly zone overhead. Now from 42.20, if we only made it to 42.80, that would be 60 points at $50 a point. That would be $3,000 per contract traded. If we make it all the way to the zone, then that would be 70, almost 80 points. It would be almost $4,000 per contract traded from the published entry to the published target. Now there is an issue here. Okay, price on this trigger was below the BBC, and one of our rules on the 30-minute chart is we only go long above the BBC, because as this was triggering, it could have been resistance. Price blew right through it. Okay, that's fine. So most of our traders who understand the methodology and the strategy would have not triggered in at 42.20 on this one. They would have waited for price to get above the BBC and then taken their long with an expectation that price would at least go to this previous swing high. It's done that and then some. Okay, so a couple of my show titles on YouTube have been about the dead cat bounce and how many times can a dead cat bounce. And today my title on the show is maybe the cat's not dead. We'll see. Just remember, this is a 30-minute view. The daily view, we got serious resistance at red and falling, then the 62 fib, the daily BBC, which is right next to that 50% fib. Okay. All right, let's go to the Dow. No trigger on the short side. We triggered the long side, and from 33,410 took us up to a high at 33,635. That's 220 points at $5 a point. That's about $1,200 per contract traded. And then we got back below the trigger. And notice how when we opened last night, price came right down to the weekly zone. Whenever price drops to a zone, we expect it to be support until proven otherwise. And it was. And then as we came back down this morning, even though we spiked the zone, it ultimately held as support. And in this case, we had gotten well above red and falling. In fact, red and falling is about to become blue and climbing, probably on the next candle. But the BBC was just below. So this is one where you could have actually taken the trigger at 33,410, and it ran up to 734. So from 410 to 734, it's about $1,500 per contract traded. On the Russell, two-sided action. This is where the market opened. This vertical line separates today, Thursday, from yesterday, Wednesday. We consolidated along the weekly trading zone. Only three things happen at a weekly zone, consolidation being the most likely. And then we triggered and ran right to the target. From 1896 to 1909, that's 13 points at $50 a point. And then we got below the trigger, below the zone. And from 1884, we traveled down to 1858. 84 minus 58. 26 points, $50 a point, $1,300 per contract traded. Then we get back above the zone, back above the BBC, trigger again, and so far we've made a run up to 1903. And so that would be from 1896 to 1903. That would be 9 points, $50 a point, $450 per contract traded. On long trades, you want blue and climbing. On short trades, you want red and falling. And notice how the step line. Now, my step line, I just have turned it into a flat line. That may be part of the way the new indicator, or the indicator package, the last installation of it. Nothing's really changed, but I've got a straight line here instead of a step line. But this is a step line. You see how they're running in parallel? Okay. When you get these guys running in parallel like this, man, if it's blue and climbing, if you've got price, then the step line, then blue and climbing, on your smaller time frame, just look for a spot to get long. The reverse of that is when you've got price, the step line, red and falling, parallel like that, just look for your opportunity to be short. On to the NQ. Okay. Here's where the market opened. Just like the S&P, the Dow, the Russell, the indices behave in a very similar manner. Okay, we talk about it almost every day on the show. Look at yesterday how price pinged from zone, support, to resistance, to support, to resistance, back to support, back to resistance. That's how price flows in every market and every time frame, from support to resistance, back to support, back to resistance. Now today's Thursday, but these zones were given out Monday morning to our members at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. So this first trigger on the NQ took us up to a swing high at 13,347. So 347 minus 266. 81 points, $20 a point, $1,620 per contract traded. And then we got back below the trigger. We triggered again. Blue and climbing had gotten directly above price. Now, while blue and climbing is bullish, okay, and represents support, when it hooks over and gets directly above price like it did on this candle, then it can become potential resistance, because when blue and climbing hooks like that, it's on its way to turning into red and falling. Just like red and falling down here is on its way to turning into blue and climbing. So you see how that acted as resistance and how this acted as support. And where's price trying to go? 13,464. Price is always trying to get to a weekly trading zone. From the moment the markets open Sunday night until they close Friday afternoon, price is trying to get to a zone. The zones are important prices, important areas. You can see here, price got below the BBC, found the zone below, and even the zone below, until it got back above the BBC, where it found the zone above. And then once it got back below the BBC, It found the zone, found the zone, found the zone. You see how it works. Now, we did come down and trigger on the short side from 13,082. We made it down to 13,033. So that's roughly 50 points, $20 a point. It's $1,000 per contract traded. We've triggered again on the long side, 266, up to, so far, 372. We'll call that another 100 points, $20 a point, $2,000 per contract traded. What you're looking at here is simply trading the CTAs from last night as they were published. You could have paid for your passport. And remember, the passport is lifetime. Never expires. There's no recurring fees. There's no gotcha. There's no upsell. We will never insult your intelligence the way some of these places do, where you buy this and then as you're trying to check out, oh, there's another special offer and oh, okay. And then there's another one and then another one. And then finally you just get mad and abandon the whole shopping cart. Or unfortunately, you click OK. Stop doing that. Once you become a passport holder, you'll never have to buy another shiny thing off the internet. Why? Because the passport provides everything a trader needs, all under one roof, at one low price. And getting your passport is extremely simple. Don't have to pass a test. You don't need a license. Just go to eminifuturestrading.com. A couple mouse clicks, and you're part of the family. If you have any questions during the process, call Valerie at 949-42-EMINI, or just send an email to support@cfrn.net. Now, the passport gives you access to the live training room every trading day. That's 2 hours with a live instructor putting on, taking off trades, explaining every move they make, every trade they take, and the rule behind it, while you trade along in your simulator until you qualify to go live, and the trainer is answering your questions. And the fastest way to learn is to ask lots and lots of questions. Now, along with 2 hours of live training every trading day, you also have access to unlimited one-on-one mentoring. The methodology we teach you works not only with futures, but stocks, forex, crypto, options. The same with our indicator set. You also receive the around-the-clock alerts, Logic 247, the concierge trade alerts, and you get to come to the Thursday night workshop, which is for members only. When you take the free trial, the only thing you don't have access to during that free trial week is the members only workshop. Okay? But once you become a passport holder, it's your all access pass to everything we do, everything we've ever done, and all the new stuff we're doing on TradingView. So let me check and see if Garrett's here. I don't want to leave him hanging. Let me scroll up through here. Normally he'll ping my phone when he arrives. Okay. Owen said my daily needs to be refreshed. Okay, Owen, well, let me go refresh it. I thought I did refresh it this morning. Okay. Daily. Here's how you refresh your daily chart, which needs to be done every day. Just switch it to any other time frame, and then come back to the daily. Okay. It might have been off a little bit. It kind of looks the same to me, but anyway, that's where I'm at. Okay, we covered the S&P, the Dow, the Russell, the NQ. We're waiting on Garrett to arrive.
I'm here.
He's here. Man of the hour. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm
I
gonna.
missed your S&P coverage, darn it.
Well, let me show you.
Oh,
This
did
is
I
where we
lose
are
you?
on the
Can you hear
daily.
me?
This is where we are on the daily chart. Can you hear me? Garrett, can you hear me?
Dwayne,
Yeah. Hey,
hang with me. I'm
can
gonna.
the rest of you guys hear me? Michael R says he can hear me. Yeah, Garrett, it's something with you might have to log out and log back in. Let me send him a quick text message. Yeah, we've had some issues with GoTo of late. It's been very well, we've certainly got our money's worth out of it over the years. Uh, but I've had difficulty logging in of late. Sometimes I've had to log in like three times before I fully get logged in so that I can get the room open for the afternoon broadcast. So we'll stand by for Garrett to log out, log back in. And he does come in with a hot mic. So, all right. So while we're waiting for him, here's crude oil. All right, last night's long CTA was 102.50, and we ran up to $103. That's $500 per contract traded. Right there, 130-minute candle. Market opened here. I should start there. We first came down, got below the VVC, red and falling. As we came down, we went from 101.25 to the target. On every short alert, the final trade to target is the zone below. On every long alert, the final trade to target is the zone above. Okay, so from 101 and a quarter, we dropped to the target. Now the zone is 145/150, so that would be $750 per contract traded. On the second trigger, we dropped to 193, so that would be $320 per contract traded. And then on this trigger, where we ran right to the target, that's $1,000 per contract traded. When the price of crude moves $1, 102.50 to 103.50, that's $1. If you're trading futures, that's $1,000 per contract traded. And you see how these two are running in parallel? But look what's happening, okay? The step line's starting to hook over. Doesn't mean price can't continue on to the next zone, but it's when you start to be a little more cautious. Okay, Garrett, I see you here now, and it says that you're muted on your end. So I'm hoping you can hear me. Oh, okay. Now your microphone's green. Say something. Anything. I hear your I hear you fumbling around, so I know you're there. You can't hide from me. Garrett, your microphone is green. Oh, I just heard that. Just say something. Your microphone is green again.
Dwayne?
Yes. Now
Ah,
I can hear you again.
okay. Is that still coming through?
Yeah. No, you sound fine.
Oh, good. Okay. I'm using, earbuds and,
Okay. Well, you sound really
okay.
good for earbuds. Yeah. Sound great.
Oh, good. Okay. Is it too loud? Is my,
Uh-uh. No. No, you're
oh,
perfect. Absolutely
okay.
perfect. So
Well, it
you
looks
had
like we,
asked about the S&P. We're up against resistance here. This indicator, red and falling, that has the potential to be good resistance. If we get above red and falling, then the next area we're looking for resistance is at 43.20, which is the 62% fib retracement. Now, of course, you already know this, but for the benefit of the audience, when you draw fibs in an uptrend, as price pulls back to a fib, you expect it to be support. And I explained all of that earlier, but when price then starts to head in the other direction, those fibs become potential resistance. So if we continue higher here, from the daily perspective, our next resistance, potential resistance is at 43.20. And then on the ES, Garrett, this is where we opened last night. And the alert I had sent out to all of our traders was to be long 42.20. And we ran up to 42.58.75. And then we triggered on the short side at 41.93. And we dropped to 41.82.5. We've now triggered the long side again. See what I mean, guys, about how red and falling hooked around to become blue and climbing? And so the final trade to target on this move is the weekly zone above, which is 42.97/98. However, we anticipate resistance at 42.80/85 because that's where the last bearish cross took place that led to an extended move. And when price revisits that area for the first time, it's almost always resistance. Price will back up, make another run at it. Sometimes it punches through. The markets look very bullish today. The most interesting thing, Garrett, that we talked about was how in the final hour, in fact, in the final 30 minutes yesterday, that's this candle here. I mean, this is a pretty, typically from 4 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern, the markets are pretty quiet. But look at, these are 30-minute candles. This was a very, very busy, a very unusual close. It was as if someone knew something the rest of us didn't know. Some institutional buyers, some hedge fund managers, because they were getting ready for this right here. And then they took profit, and now they're back in the game again, driving us higher, trying to get to that zone overhead. Can you still hear me?
I can.
Okay.
Am I still coming through?
You're coming through fine. I'm going to send you the charts. You want me to send you the charts, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Let me,
Okay. So now you just have to accept. Gosh, I was such a young man in that picture. I was in Ecuador when that picture was taken.
where's that? No, which picture?
The picture that everybody sees right now as we're switching screens, it just says Daily Live Emini radio broadcast. Dwayne Reeves host.
Let's
God,
see.
that was back in about
Okay.
2008, I think. Okay, so it says you're connected to, no, now we can see the charts.
By the way, I'm going to drag a chart over if I can. Let's see. I just drew, this is a 30-minute chart, and I just kind of drew this channel in. I had it drawn in, and, we're bumping into it. This indicator here, when it goes through here, gives a sell signal. Not a sell signal when it reverses. You can see here, here's where it is. Here it turns down. That's not the sell signal. That's not the sell signal. But when it goes through, that's a pretty good sell signal. And then the buy signal happens when it comes back up through it again. And that's pretty good. So it's
Now, normally you're
waiting.
showing the cash market, but that was actually the futures, right?
Oh no, yeah. On these, I'm doing the futures. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Normally, I do show the cash, but
Hey, keep going. Somebody's knocking on my door. Let me see who it is. I'll be right back, but you keep talking, okay?
okay. Hopefully, let's see. Let me move this so everybody can see it. Well, that didn't help, did it? Let's see. Um, oh, I know what the problem is. Let me move this over just a little bit more. There we go. All right. This is the NASDAQ 100, the ETF for the NASDAQ 100, which of course is the QQQs. I'm just gonna give me just a moment. I want to text someone that I'm on a call. Bear with me just one sec. Sorry for this. It'll just keep phone calls from coming in. Okay. Anyway, back to the QQQs. Sorry for this is just a big picture look. And I just brought this up because it just kind of caught my attention. Here's the bottom. Let me pull this up just a touch more. The bottom back in 2009. And we see this move all the way up. Then it gets strong and then it gets almost parabolic. In fact, it probably is parabolic up until this point. I just put this price channel in, and the question in a lot of people's minds is, was this the top? The top in the QQQs, I believe, was November 22nd. And a lot of people think the top of the market is in. I think it is in as well, but this has been such a crazy market in so many ways that if somebody were to ask me, would I be surprised if, whenever we bottomed out here, and I think that's going to happen within the next week, would you be surprised if we had a summer rally that went through to late in the summer and the market got up there and made a new high above the prior high? And the answer is I really wouldn't. I think the top is in, and I think mentally I have to play this as if the top is in until proven otherwise. But in this market, with what's happened, and particularly as an example, if you think of the time period before the election where the market was great, COVID came out, we lost a lot of the economy, and the market goes up. We're looking at this low here. We knock out a lot of the economy. A lot of small businessmen are wiped out. A lot of QE and debt is created, and so forth. And the market does this. I don't think there's any rhyme or reason on that, and I think there's going to be books written about it down the road. But be that what as it may, that's what happened. What's happened since then, and the reason I pointed this out, is the QQQs have dropped down to a 23.8% initial retracement, and in so doing, they've come into this bottom channel line. I didn't draw this line based on here first. I drew this line and then paralleled it off this low, and this is where we are. So,
by the way, I'm back, and sorry about that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm just going over the QQQs, and I guess the NASDAQ, essentially the NASDAQ 100, which is market leadership. It topped on November 22nd, as opposed to on January 4th for the
So that's a
S&P.
monthly 24% fib retracement.
Yes, exactly. And I was mentioning I had drawn this line in as the trend line and paralleled it off this low, not the other way around, because
Uh-huh.
I've had this chart for a few weeks now. So now we've moved over to the line, and look at these months here. I mean, this is incredible. Up, down, up, down, up, down, within the same price range.
Yeah, there's been
Now,
the
we know.
volatility in the tech stocks has been just incredible.
Now I'll show you something interesting that just dawned on me, and if I can, let me see if I can pull up a new chart. This is right in front of my new chart window, but let's see if I can do it. Um, I want to show you the S&P, and I want to go back a few years because I just remembered something as I look at this chart. I'm I'm visual
Hmm.
at times, so uh, let me take this. Well, 5 years, that'll do it. Let me just go back here. I'm going to go back to the top in 2018. Everybody remembers that one, I'm sure.
Okay, the chart
Um,
we're still seeing is the triple Qs.
yeah, it's just because I'm trying to
Okay,
get
take
back.
no, take your time.
Yeah. Now, okay, got it now. Okay, take a look at this. Here's the top, and then here's this crazy 3-day thing of pretty much similar price structure. And this is just the way my mind works. So
Or
excuse
you
me,
mean
but
monthly, right? Oh wait,
yeah,
there.
that's the monthly
That's the
chart.
monthly.
So
Okay.
this is the daily chart of the S&P. This is 2018,
Uh huh.
as you can see.
Right.
Here's the top. We come down, and then we get these 3 days here. And I think if I use something, oh, you know what? This is the futures. Let's do something a little different here. My memory, if memory serves me, it's a little different on the futures. Uh,
All right. So
I
this is
may
the
be,
cash market of the S&P.
yeah, I'll show you if I'm, oh, there you go. Look at the difference. I was talking about market making a top,
Hmm.
coming down and having, in that case it was 3 months, but in this case it's 3 days. If you're looking at the chart, nobody puts a label on it, nobody knows the difference, right?
Hmm. That's right.
Um,
Exactly.
but
That's a very profound statement, guys. What he just said. And I've done this on the show before just to prove a point or in workshops. Without the labels, you can't tell the difference between a 1 minute chart and a monthly chart.
in some respects, it's almost like looking through a telescope and a really really good microscope
Hmm.
when you get down to the molecular level. As above, so below. I don't know if that's what his intentions were, but but anyway, I just saw that, and it made me think of this. Excuse me, and look what happened. And you had a full moon here. I wonder if we're near a full moon. My my,
Seems like we just had one. I'm not
I
sure.
think I think we are. I've got this thing down on my. You know what? Let's do this. Hang on. Let me see what I can find out here. Um, Bear with me just a second. I think I can. Hopefully, I can do this somewhat quickly.
No, take your time.
Let's see if
Uh,
this is not always.
well, I'll tell you what, that doggone trade station got more bells and whistles. And I used to use trade station a lot for a number of years. But
I
it's
have
a completely different animal now. Uh,
I have, I have a love-hate relationship with it.
I think
Um,
I think most people do.
this is
I have just a hate relationship with Ninja. There's no love hate there for me. And I don't mean to disrespect any of our audience and members. I know you have a lot of you have Ninja, love Ninja, and our indicators work for you on Ninja. I just never got comfortable with Ninja.
yeah. I have that thing too. So much of whatever anybody's doing is is your comfort level. Without a comfort level, it's you know, without a comfort level, you're not comfortable. What can I say?
Exactly.
April 16th. Now, let me just see. Um, oh, crest of the full moon on April 16th. 16 and 14 is 30. 30 is 2 days away. I'm guessing the next one's on the 30th, which would,
Okay.
no, wait a minute. Wait, no, 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 no,
Yeah.
no. I'm thinking of new moon.
30 days has
Um,
September, April, June, and November. All the rest have
yeah,
31, except February, which has 28, except for leap year. I think that's what they taught us in kindergarten.
yeah, I remember that one too. You know, this is funny. I have a little
So
indicator
now, what
down
does what do
here.
each one of those
Oh,
dots
maybe.
represent?
Well, that's a full moon period. So sometimes you get just one, sometimes you get three, where seemingly for however they do it, it covers like a 3 day period, or
Okay.
maybe the moon's closer. I don't know why. I've had that question myself. You know, here's one, here's two, here's three. What's the
Is it
deal?
possible that the full moon happens on a Saturday or a Sunday when the markets are closed, and you
Oh,
just get the
sure.
one dot? Could that be it?
Oh, that could be. Yeah, that certainly could be, and that would be probably pretty easy to check. So if it's a Sunday or a Monday, you get, I mean, a Saturday or a Sunday, that could certainly be it. And sometimes they fall, you know, between a couple of days. You know,
Mm-hmm.
when the moon becomes its fullest. You know, if
Right.
it's around midnight or something. So anyway, well, this I just happened to remember. You know what? Let's take a look. We can answer our own question. We can answer my own question here. As I recall, there was a full moon involved. There you go. Here we are back again, looking at the same
Now
pattern.
I'll open my calendar. Okay, tell me what date you're looking at, and I'll tell you
Oh,
what day of the month.
I'll tell you when it was January 31st of 2018. I remember when it was.
Oh, okay.
Uh, this was the full moon. But here's this pattern, and then boom, all of a sudden, this thing falls apart.
Right.
And it's like this is the market top at this time, and we're, you know, in a little bit different situation. Um, but when you look at it on the, let me go back to that other chart. I just that just kind of caught my attention coming off the top, and here we are. And on the monthly, we're coming off the top, and this chart to me looks awfully similar.
Mm-hmm.
If we go back again, I moved it. I'm sorry. Am I making everybody crazy yet?
No, no,
but
we're good.
yeah, I didn't mean to do that. But here you go. I mean, uh, uh, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and down. So let's go back to the other one. You know, there you are. It's pretty darn close. And this range, this is a huge range, and I don't necessarily know why it should all of a sudden just fall apart, or although I could give you a whole bunch of reasons. But it just caught my attention. That's my visual hang up. But what I was doing, as far as what I wanted to share, I didn't have anything particular on any special markets. I just have a page on my charts where I'll do some things to just kind of, you know, jog my memory, kind of a roadmap. This is the market leadership. It's the QQQs, and they've made an all-time high until something else happens, and this is what it looks like. So that's kind of the focus. Then my mind goes to, well, let's see what's going on with the S&P, and can we make any sense of it? And apparently I can't. But let me minimize that just a little bit. Um,
Yeah, that looks good.
here's what Yeah, and let me give it one more little shot. That should do it. Okay. Uh,
Yeah,
I'm
that's good.
afraid you
That's
just
good.
think yeah. Okay. Here we go. That's what we're looking for.
Yep.
This is what it looks. This is what it looks like to me. It looks like you've got one, two, three, four, five waves down for a wave one. You've got an A, a B, and a C for a wave two. We've got one, two, three, four, five waves down for wave one of three to the downside, and A, B, C to wave two, and we're in. This is wave three somewhere, or maybe that's wave three. We're rallying now. It's wave four, and we make a wave five, and wave three is done, and we get a little rally. Until proven otherwise, that's kind of what I think is going on. If it wasn't that, and if we are to have a new high, and I mentioned probably while you were gone, Dwayne, on this chart, I thought, here's a great economy coming into the election. Everything's great. The economy's great. Unemployment's really low. Uh, Gas prices, yeah, all sorts of things. We're closing the border. We've got gas prices are low. Food prices are reasonable. The
Hmm.
economy humming. Everything's great. We're right here. Well, we don't like that. An election's coming up. Let's create some COVID and see what we can do. No, I shouldn't say that, but anyway, if that were the case. Anyway, COVID comes along and this happens. We go down. Now it's interesting. That's a pretty big decline
Hmm.
in the QQQs, but look at the trend line. It reminds me of the
Yeah.
1987 crash. 1987 dropped down to 1616 on uh, and hit a trend line right in midair, and that's what happened here. But this is the part I was saying to your audience that gosh, uh, we've knocked out the small businessman. A lot of people that had businesses that are longer than 100 years are out, and their businesses are shut down, and many other businesses are shut down. However, all the big corporations were doing just fine. Uh, all the New World Order guys were doing really quite well. Anyway, with all this that happened to the economy, the creation of debt, the wiping out of businesses, we get this incredible rally, which I was saying, I think they'll write history books on that down the road for all sorts of reasons. But you get a huge rally um, where you can make the argument, one, things were much better here than they were anywhere along this line,
Sure.
clearly. And they're much better here than they are now. Even though we're here.
Well,
But anyway, the point is,
How much is gas in your neighborhood?
oh, don't ask me. But $5 and something,
Yeah,
maybe six.
I saw my first $5 sign there a couple days ago.
It's just and it's been more diesel is 750 or 8, and I may be way off. I mean I haven't I didn't it's
Remember
been a
back
while.
when we were young and diesel was so much cheaper than regular
Always
gasoline?
always cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I remember when I lived in Incline Village by Lake Tahoe, I'd drive
God,
down
that's a
to,
beautiful place.
yeah, I got tired of the snow though, after. I mean, for a guy who doesn't see snow often, it was incredible and beautiful every day. I appreciated every day and marveled at the beauty. But after almost a decade, I went, you know what? Got a lot of snow for quite a period of time. You know, I'm a little slow on the uptake there, but ultimately it dawned on me. Anyway, my point here was this happened not for good reason in my view. So if I were to say, could you have something that could bring this up to here and make a slightly higher high? I'm the last guy on the planet to say, no, that couldn't happen. Uh, if it did happen, the wave count, for what it's worth, is probably something like this: a bunch of ABCs to create an A wave down, ABC for a B wave, and now we've got a 1, 2, 3, maybe a 4, and down for a 5. My guess in early May, and you get either a C wave or you complete this thing. Maybe this is a 1, 2, 3, and then a short 4, 5, and we're done. And that's wave 3. And you know, but I think we're going to get a summer rally. I mean, I guess what's going on in the rest of the world with you know, Russia and the
Yeah,
Ukraine,
that
and
old sell in May, go away. I don't think we're gonna see that this year. There's too much going on
yeah,
in
I
the
don't
world.
either. It's an inversion this year. Our seasonality is kind of inverted, and therefore I'm looking for a low in early May, or really within the next week or so. I'm expecting a low. And I don't think we've just had it with this. I mean, could it have happened early? Could we be in the midst now? Sure, we could. But we haven't really had a capitulation yet. And it seems odd that we wouldn't have some type of a capitulation. So,
If we
I,
break the
I,
Ides of March low, I think that could be the beginning of the capitulation.
yeah, yeah. And I think, and you know, it's funny. I mean, certainly if we get that pattern I was talking about and the thing falls apart, I guess that could happen for any number of reasons. But I think if we broke that low, you'd get a lot of selling. And if the intent of the guys who make things happen is to buy into that, I think we could get our turn up there. So I guess we just have to watch that. This is a 60-minute chart, and it's assuming that that's the wave 2 there, and you can see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for wave 1, A, B, C for 2, long wave 1, you know,
Hmm.
really big wave 1. That happens. That there's 3 types of Elliott wave patterns. Um, the rule of alternation and the parabolic, and then I don't remember what they call this, but my old ex-partner and I used to call this a stem pattern. Normally it's going in the other direction, but that's where the bulk of your wave is in the first wave.
Hmm.
Then your correction, then your second thrust is smaller, and your final third thrust, which would be the fifth wave.
And it should
Um,
take out that low at number 3. Is that is that
yeah,
correct?
sure, sure,
Because I'm not a I'm
absolutely.
not a, I'm not a, I'm not a wave guy, but
Yeah, I'm not, you know, I look at everything else other than the wave and then throw in the wave to see if it fits. I'm that kind of a wave guy. What's that? A weekend wave guy?
yeah, if
But
if you compared Elliott wave to chess, I'm more of a checkers kind of guy. So
yeah, me too. When I can't figure, you know, the real good Elliott wave guys, assuming there are some, um, uh, you know, they when they can't figure it out, they break out um, the looking glass and get real close and try to get down to minute things. I do the opposite. I step back a couple of paces and squint and see if there's a pattern there, you know.
hmm.
And if there isn't, I do something else. But I do just the opposite. I would rather try to see a bigger picture pattern than have some minutia thing, particularly when, I mean, if we lived on a perfect world where we had free enterprise and but we didn't have the Fed and everybody else messing with things. And now, in my view, they're doing it far more than they ever have in the past.
Speaking about
Um,
free, how about free speech?
isn't it interesting that the guy who's talking about free speech, which would seem to be one of those two-word things that are that you just can't argue about, and you can't have two opinions about, unless you're, you know, somebody with ulterior motives.
Right.
Isn't it interesting that the guy who's talking about freedom and removing censorship is the bad guy?
Yeah.
And
Oh,
isn't it
yeah.
interesting?
The media is just in meltdown mode right now, from Joy
Uh,
Reid to the rest of them, about how
and
he's a racist. He wants to go back to his South African roots and the apartheid that was going on in the late '80s. And
and my comment would be, why don't we take a few minutes and why don't you go outside and look around, and see if you can find your mind, and come on back in,
yeah,
and we can talk. I don't. It's like we have gone. If there's any question that this country's been brainwashed or not, if that doesn't answer it, I don't know what does. If you went back to the 1960s, the earlier 1960s, and you had this going on, people, Democrats, would go, "What in the world are you talking about?" You know, you know, what kind of ridiculous, it's just complete insanity. I've turned off the news because
good for you.
when
Good for you.
when it's been proven, I think the purpose of sitting down after dinner and watching the news is to become informed about the world, and then become informed about your country, and become informed about your local area,
Hmm.
so that you can make informed decisions, and um, you know find out what's going on in the world. Well, that's not what you're going to find out from our news.
Because
Uh,
there isn't really any news anymore. There's just opinions.
Yeah, right now, this is this narrative. This is the narrative. You will believe this, and that's just a hint of what's going to happen in the future. They've got us to where we are doing that, and half the people now are speaking up against free speech. Now, should we be surprised? They've already spoken up against God.
Right.
They already got rid of God.
They gave him
What
the
do we
boot a
need
long
him?
time ago.
Yeah, what do we need him for? And if we can get rid of him, we can probably get rid of Elon Musk at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just, when I look at trends. You look at trends. What and when you look at this trend and you give it some time and go back so you can get some perspective. One of the benefits, maybe the only benefit of being older, is is that fortunately, you and I both go back long enough to um, where you have a perspective that's so much different than what we're seeing. In other words, if you go back 10 years, certainly it's different and there's a change, but it's not that big a deal. You go back 50, 60 years, and all sorts of stuff has happened.
When I was 5 or 6 years old, if one of my school teachers had started talking to me about sex, they would have been arrested the same day. And now they're indoctrinating our kids at such a young age about things that they're not ready to handle. They're not prepared. They're just forming who they are, and
Let's,
there seems to be an incredible agenda to
oh,
change
gosh,
who they are.
this is so evil. I mean, if they put it as freedom. I said, freedom for who? The kids aren't making the choice. You're making the choice for them.
Right.
You're pushing somebody in their face, and saying that, when do kids have a difficult time and challenges? Well, all the time, right? But I mean, when you're growing up, there's all sorts of challenges. There's the pre-adolescent challenges of puberty or pre-puberty, and all the challenges that go along with that. And then there's the point when you're in high school, and puberty's going on. You're trying to figure out what the heck is going on. So you're very susceptible in those single digit years, apparently, 7, 8, 9. That's when a whole lot of things happen. And that's why you have parents, and that's why you have people that go to church and do this, people that are trying to tell their children the what we used to tell them. I cannot tell a lie, cut down the cherry tree.
Right.
Whoever hears that anymore, don't lie. You don't want to be a liar. You want to tell the truth. do unto others as you would have others do unto you, and all these things. And when do you tell them that? You tell them that when they're small children. By the time they're adolescents and in high school, they should know that.
And
They should
uh,
hopefully be living that.
right, and I'm overwhelmed by their compulsion to get these vaccines into our young children, which science has proven is not a good idea, when we have a vice president who's had 4 shots, the vaccination and all the boosters, and now she's got COVID.
It's just, in the worst part of it all is, again, our news is lying to us. I mean, isn't it interesting that the let's I don't want to say Republicans and Democrats, because both of them could do a lot better, but
Yes, I
the
agree.
the ultra liberals, let's say that those we live in a free country, not anymore, but we used to. The people that are bringing the change and removing our freedom, those people, um, it's amazing what's going on, and it's amazing how they're the ones that are protected by the media,
Hmm.
and the narrative is that these are the proper thinkers.
Hmm.
And it's just amazing what's happened. I wanted to share something uh, with you, and I think maybe what I should do is, if we can talk a little later, there's a very good article. I ran into something, I was going to say by accident, and I guess the comment is, there's no such thing as a cosmic accident, I guess. I ran into something that I'd already watched almost a year ago and found very, very informative, very impressed by what the guy had to say. And I remember when I first watched it, it was a guy who is a musician, and a rock musician
Hmm.
from Australia. And so when I first watched the thing, I was thinking, you're looking at a guy I didn't know who was kind of I didn't know whether he was a rock star. I'd never heard of him, but that was the thing. I thought, well, why would why would I be listening to this? But I kept listening, and then and the more I listened, I thought, you don't want to. I've kind of learned not to judge a book by its cover, and but initially, as I was looking looking at this particular cover, I was thinking, gee, what, this guy doesn't look necessarily, I guess, here I am categorizing, but that's what we all do to some degree, or a lot of us, and I'm no different. And I thought, gee, what can this guy tell me? He just, what would a rock star know? Well, lo and behold, it's a 5-hour video, so I didn't sit
Wow.
there. I did it in a few servings,
Yeah.
but uh, but he told the answer to the question is more than anybody else. And this is an area that I've studied for 50 years, New World Order and that kind of stuff. It just caught me by attention. But there is some stuff in there, and in an article, and the guy who writes the article was mentioning that video, and I kind of went, gee, I remember, I saw it, and but he was pointing out uh, certain things, and there's just something I'll share with you afterwards, and then you can decide whether you want to share it with your audience.
Okay.
For those people who want to, lots of things are happening in the world today, and we're being lied to on so many fronts, and we've caught the news over the years in outright lies, and yet, and we've caught them uh, standing up for the wrong things to stand up for. I forget party. I don't care. I mean, if what Hillary Clinton did
With the
in
Russian
Benghazi,
dossier. Uh,
with the Russian dossier, with selling 20% of our strategic reserves to Russia, and then saying, "Oh, Trump's colluding," all that stuff. Let's say Trump did it. Well, let's say Trump did exactly what Hillary Clinton did. How would I feel? Well, my thought would be, investigate this and hang the guy for treason.
Yeah.
I mean, frankly,
Yeah.
not that, oh, let's see, Trump's a conservative. I'm a conservative, depending upon what we're talking about. And gee, so let's let him be. If he's on my side, you can do whatever you want. Well, what happened? What would happen if it was Trump's son, either one of them, who had the laptop that Hunter Biden?
Oh
I mean,
my goodness. I mean, this
this
thing
would
is just
be.
staring everyone in the face and they just want to ignore it.
Yeah, I mean, this is the greatest. It would be the greatest, the worst thing that ever happened in America.
Yes. Hmm.
That's what it would be. Uh, but since it's Hunter Biden, it's a non-event.
Right. All right.
It's so wrong. Everything is wrong with that. When you can't differentiate between right and wrong, don't try to tell me that we're going in an upward direction. Let's see. We've removed God. We're removing freedom. We're killing people with vaccines. We're, on and on and on. But this is good. It's like what? I mean, what an embarrassment to our intelligence. When you tell that to people, it's good, and you nod your head up and down, and you get them nodding their heads up and down. I don't care if you got a 200 IQ. If you got a 200 IQ and you fall for that, in my book, you're stupid.
Yeah. Now we've got Russia threatening nuclear war. Kim Jong-un has come out of the shadows and he's now threatening nuclear war again. And it's because of the weakness that the world sees in our current administration. Uh,
What if it's something else though? What if I mean, let's just put a supposition out there because nobody knows,
right?
and we're certainly not getting the truth over the news.
No, no.
Um, what are we when we look at this situation? When I look at this situation with Putin, and we never get the news, so there's no situation for us to look at until they want to expose it. But the thing that I remember um, JFK in the Cuban Missile Crisis. I remember that, and I remember that Russia was bringing in ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles,
Hmm.
and they were coming into Cuba, and they had a range that could put it on Washington, D.C. if they felt like it.
Right.
And JFK said, no, I can't have that happen. I can't, you're a free country, Cuba's a free country, but I got to step in. You're too close to my people. Was he right? Well, of course he's right. There's no question. Was he a hero? Sure, he was a hero. Did he protect America and stop World War III? Yes, he did.
It was a little bit messy, a little bit of a snafu, but he did. He did what he set
Yeah,
out to do.
yeah. And Russia, pulled their stuff out of it. Well, aren't we looking at exactly the same thing, only worse for Russia? Why was NATO on Russia's border when Russia hasn't been at war with anybody for quite a while? We get involved in every war that's there, and if we're not involved, if we're not involved, we're upset that they didn't include us in the party. I mean, isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
If you dropped here from another planet, I said, forget where you live and what you love and do that. First of all, it's all changed. But aren't we pretty much throughout our existence, um, and certainly in the last century, in the last 50 years, don't we get involved in just about every war everywhere? And we got a narrative. Oh gosh, we're the policeman for the world. Really? Did they elect us to that? Or did we just say, oh, we're the policeman for the world? Because, we came out of World War II really strong, and now we're going to push our weight around. And I think it's now we're going to push our weight around. Why was NATO, if NATO's for world peace, right?
Right.
If that's what they're doing to protect the world from, bad things,
Hmm.
why aren't they on our border to keep us from going to war with the next country that we're going to go to war with?
Why aren't
They
they
got to
on
be
our
on our
Why
border.
aren't they on our southern border, where not only are people flowing across the border in never before heard or seen numbers, but the drugs that they're bringing across, the most deadly drug of all, fentanyl. 151 people die every day from fentanyl overdose. and it's just pouring across the southern border. The chemicals come
Yeah.
from China, they go to the pill processing plant in Mexico, and then these immigrants coming across with backpacks. They confiscated a load the other day that was enough to that had the potential to kill 3 million people.
No, look at why? Because they want it. That's what they want. The answer to the answer to that is why is it happening? It's because they want it to happen, and they're encouraging it. And people like George Soros and others are spending good money to make damn sure it happens. So we got to wake up. I mean, we're really asleep on this. We're listening to the narrative, and it's taking our freedom away and killing people. And we're going, oh, what do you got for us next? Well, they got plenty for us.
Well, yeah, it's
And
not
this is
just on a
what,
national or international level, it's on a local level. Let's talk about Gascon, the DA
oh,
in LA.
real quick thing though, if I may,
Go ahead.
I wanted to take that point on Putin because it's
No.
really
Oh,
important.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We've got to, we know that we've got a well I probably got off track, but we've got a news media that lies to us. We've got people that are giving us things that are dangerous for ourselves and our children, and we're allowing it to happen. We've got fentanyl coming across the border. We've got rapists and murderers coming across the border too. Let's not forget that.
Yes.
And oh, by
Yes.
the way, they're not opposed to cocaine and heroin and any other kind of drug
Well,
either.
and
So
they're
let's
lacing the
not forget
cocaine
that.
and the
And
heroin
oh, and
with the
by the
fentanyl.
way, they don't have masks on, which of course are useless. So I didn't have a problem with that. But none of them are getting tested. So
No.
we have to, and oh, by the way, we're going to give them money, but our veterans and our other people that are falling on hard time, they don't get anything. We'll put these people, and people, we're getting taken over. This is what's going on. The New World Order is taking over. The reason this is happening is very simple. If you don't think New World Order and you try to think this out in your normal mind, you're not going to get the answers. If you want the answer to every one of these things, with it's simple and it makes absolute logical sense, then you've got to go from their perspective of what they want to accomplish. And they told us 50, I told you, I read this 50 years ago, what they're going to do. They're doing exactly what they said they would do 50 years ago when I first read that information. But here's the point with Putin. What if Putin's a good guy? Remember, this is not a guy who's starting wars with anybody. He hasn't been in a war for a long time. Last time he was in, it was Afghanistan. Putin doesn't have 800 external military bases, does he? He used to have two. Now I think he's got one, and maybe they're closing that down. So this is not an aggressor that's causing problems. And if you believe what you heard about Syria and all that, you're believing the people that have consistently lied to us. So we've got to, number one, stop believing what we're being told. It's not the truth. But isn't Putin exactly in the same position that JFK was in? And let me explain why. And Putin is even worse than JFK. What happened when they tore the wall down? And Reagan said, "What Mr. Gorbachev,
Right.
tear down that wall."
Hmm.
Well, we caused them to go bankrupt, and that had to happen. And Russia was in a very weakened position. They didn't want to give away their countries. Those are their countries. We're being told that they're horrible people to their people, and who knows? Who knows? We're not there. But we're also being told that the vaccine's good for you, and it's nice to have an open border, and don't worry about the fentanyl. It's probably good for you. I mean,
And your son really should have been your daughter, so we'll fix that too.
yeah, exactly. And oh, by the way, you don't want to be doing anything to do with God. That's not a good thing. And I don't even want to mention Jesus. This is what's going on. So with respect to Putin, look what's happening if you're Putin. You're in Russia, you got a bunch of NATO people on your border for years. Why? What are they doing? They're intimidating. Why are they intimidating him? Well, because he kicked the Rothschilds out of Russia. Who are they? Oh, they're the ones that have all the central banks. Putin says, I'm not going to have this. Oh, and by the way, what's Russia? For the most part, it's a white Christian nation. So Anyway, forget all that stuff. They're on his border. He's telling, get off my border. Guess what they're doing? Now, I don't know whether you believe that the um, coronavirus was, you know, I've got lots of thoughts on that. I don't think it's just a organic thing that happened.
I think it was a pandemic, and I think it was cooked
Yeah.
up in a laboratory. And I think some of Fauci's money that he had control over was part of engineering it.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Biohacking.
and there's plenty. By the way, there's plenty of proof of that by very good sources, and a lot of doctors, and a number of doctors that are somehow died that had real
Oh,
good
yeah,
information.
yeah, yeah.
But the point on Putin is this: what if this is the last good guy out there? He didn't let the central bankers in there. He is in a Christian nation. He saw that. Do you know if you know the history of the Ukraine? It's Western and Eastern Ukraine. Eastern Ukraine is the Russians for the most part. Everybody used to be a Russian in all those countries, but Western Ukraine is where Khazaria was. And that's where the Nazis fled from Germany, because that's where they came from.
Mhm.
And they're back there. And what have they been doing? Well, they're there in Western Ukraine is where all this stuff goes on. They've got a whole bunch of uh, plants there where they're making bioweapons. They're making all this, this type of stuff like the COVID and so forth. They've got masses of them. Putin, you'll never see it, but he gave an address to his people, said exactly what he was doing in the war. He says, I'm going to go in and denaziize the Ukraine, which is, like I said, the history on this is there's all sorts of information on this. You'll never get it from your news, but there's tons of information on this. He wants to go in and number one, denaziize the Western side, which is great. And number two, he's going to go in and get rid of the biolabs, and that's what he's been doing. And I had somebody just the other day he said, I'm a Ukrainian, 100%. A friend of mine was sharing this week. I'm 100% Ukrainian. And he says, my family's in Ukraine. He says, what they're telling you is not at all true. I mean, they were showing pictures of a bombing where they bombed out something. And the pictures were from the conflict with Israel and, in Palestine. It was from that conflict. And they're saying, oh, this is happening in Ukraine. So anyway, but the point
Well, let
is,
me ask you this: that what's going on in China with all these people locked up and out on their balconies screaming and pleading for help and food? Do you think that's an illusion? Do you think that's fake news, or
no,
do you think
no,
that's real?
because again, one of the things, and you'll see this on the Georgia Guidestones, one of their New World Order plans is to reduce about 80 or 90% of the population. So they're going to do it with the vaccines. They're going to do it with war. They're going to do it. They're doing just what they said they would do. And the only guy standing up to it, and Trump would have stood up to it, but you notice the first thing they did, they put a Russia thing in there. Why did they do that? Well, they're smart. I didn't say they weren't smart. They were smart enough to realize that if Trump got together with Putin, that they'd probably get along quite well. We could probably get some good trade agreements going. They've got things that we need. We've got things that they need. And what if we all get, and oh, by the way, the Russians are pretty much like us, aren't they? I mean, if you look around the world, the Russians are a lot more like the United States than virtually anybody else that I can think of. It's, uh, they're more like us than India or China. Um, but uh, anyway, the point here is that he's gone out and protected his country because NATO, the bad guys, which is again, what's NATO? We're told one thing, but it's the military for the New World Order. It, it's all those same people, and this is why I wanted to get this article particularly to you and
Yeah,
have you
send it
take a
to me.
look at some of this stuff,
Send it to me.
and then, you know, decide whether you want to share it with your people, because people were just not getting the truth. And this thing is, you know, it's a 5-hour video. Um, and everybody says, oh, you know, I don't have 5 hours. And I said, oh, well, yeah. This is the most important thing on the planet that has to do with your freedom and everybody else's, and World War III, and possible elimination of a lot of people and so forth. But of course, you don't have time for that. And by the way, that's America. I mean, that's what we've been pushed into. What Putin did, and what he's doing, is he's standing up for his country. He said, "I've had it. What you're going to do?" He knew they were going to use those bioweapons on him and release all this germ warfare on Russia. Why? Again, this whole thing is about. He didn't let the central bank in there. You know who else didn't do that? Saddam Hussein. Oh, and who else? Muammar Gaddafi. They were both going to create gold-backed currencies. Well, gee, the central banks aren't going to like that, are they? So we're going to tell you that these guys are real bad guys. By the way, Saddam Hussein is one thing, but Gaddafi, who they said was a real bad guy, talk to the people of that country sometime. He and his son and daughter were loved by the people because they were putting them through college. They were doing all sorts of things. The stuff we heard, again, just wasn't true. But anyway, what happened with Putin and our news, of course, why are they attacking? You know, who are the evil people in history? You know, Napoleon. What did he do? He kicked the Rothschilds out of France. You know, there's just a history on this, and what Putin's doing is protecting his country. There's no reason for them to be on his border unless they've got, you know, evil thoughts, and we've seen that. And he's done the same thing as JFK did. These people were getting too close, and he said, "Stop." Not only are you, and where have they moved? What have they infiltrated? Who's running Ukraine? America, and ultimately Israel. But who's running Ukraine? We are. Take a look at Zelensky and look at his history, and get it from a good source. We're in there running that country. It's not like it used to be. So what you got essentially is the same thing as Russia in Cuba, with one difference. Cuba's at least separated from the United States. What's happening with Putin is the same. I'll give you an exact analogy. It's as if Russia came, or China, or whoever our enemy is, actually came in and was in Florida, and it, you know, if you had America in a rough time financially, and we lost Florida, you know, it used to be part of the United States. Well, now it's not. Now it's supposedly a free country, but everybody who's running that's Russian. The same thing that Putin's facing from us. Not the Ukrainians there, the ex-Russian people that, you know, half the country is Russian and they're pro-Russian. That's not what's going on at all. It's all pro-American puppets, just like we do all over the world. So anyway, let's go look at this chart. But I'm just saying, be open-minded on these things and don't believe what you hear, because we're being lied to. And I'd love to have those lies stop, but they aren't. And as you say, when you got an open border and they're bringing fentanyl and criminals in, and we're applauding it, or half of it.
I mean, like, just in the last, I don't know, a few months, or since the beginning of the year, 30 known terrorists had been apprehended crossing the southern border. And so, what's that? Maybe 10. What do they catch? Maybe 10%.
I was going to
So
say,
so
yeah.
think
I
of how
mean,
many got through unfettered, and probably now, you know, living in some hotel at the taxpayer's expense, getting a check every month.
well, I mean, this is, like I said, I read 50 years ago how they were going to do this. They're going to do it through debt. Well, they've done the debt. By the way, Europe and the United States both, because those were the two bastions of freedom on the planet at that time, Europe and the United States. And I thought, fat chance. There's no chance that this will happen. Europe has been Europe forever. You know, everybody wants to travel to Europe, and it's how different to go to each of the countries, and what a wonderful thing. That's all changed. And then their plan was take down Europe first through debt, and if necessary, through immigration. Well, what they do? They've bankrupted, they've created debt throughout the European nations, and look at the immigration that happened. And then the United States, exactly the same thing. Isn't that what's going on here? We've got huge debt, you know, monstrous debt, and they stopped the QE, remember? But all of a sudden, QE was 30 billion a month.
Oh, well, they stopped
right,
QE, but this just in, Joe Biden confirmed that he has asked Congress for an additional aid package for Ukraine. We're talking about $33 billion, $20 billion in military aid and $8.5 billion in economic aid. Where's that money going to come from? Well,
yeah,
the Fed's going to print it, but it's going to come out of the pocket of the American taxpayer.
Let me ask you something, and here's just a simple question. Why would their news? First of all, you had COVID dominate the news.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's somewhat understandable. People are getting sick, and
sure.
The real reason is they have an agenda. But forget that. People are getting sick, and it makes sense, and it's here. Why in the world are we so concerned about what's happening in Ukraine? And I don't mean that as a non-humanitarian statement, but why in the world would that dominate our news? If France was in a skirmish with Portugal, would that be on our news every day? I don't think so. They might cover it for 5 minutes.
Right.
Oh, gee, there's a tornado in Iowa. Oh, okay. Oh, and France and Portugal are having a problem. Hell, I mean, you had wars. If it was, you know, if it was South Africa and Botswana, they had a skirmish, you know, serious, you know, they're having a battle.
Mm-hmm.
Who cares? I mean, I don't mean that in a who cares non-humanitarian thing. Obviously, it's something, but that's not going to dominate your news.
No.
We have our own news.
No.
We have our own problem. The border is 20 times, 100 times, 1,000 times more important as far as
dominating
as Americans are concerned.
What's dominating our so-called news right now is freedom of speech. They're just an absolute meltdown because there's one man with enough money and enough sway to provide a platform for the world to speak their mind. Now, I agree that there should be no hate speech. They should not allow any threats of violence of any kind. But just because two people disagree, well, that's life. And there should be a platform for people to share their thoughts and feelings. Joy Reid, no love lost there. I want to see her on Twitter. I still want her to have the freedom to spew her vitriol. Okay. And they're all freaked out because they're afraid that what Elon's going to do is he's going to throttle them the way conservatives have been throttled on Twitter. And that's going to uproot their whole ecosystem.
Remember, if we want to be able to have things make sense, there's only the number one thing you have to do is not focus on the issue first. You focus on the New World Order plan first. There's no question that that's there. That's not a conspiracy theory. Anybody who thinks that's a conspiracy theory is sadly not intelligent enough or informed enough to even be in the conversation. This is a given. If you're not paying attention to that degree, then, you know, the answer should be, I'm not paying any attention, and therefore I don't have an opinion, which is what I say on things that I don't know anything about. I got 50 years in this. It's not a conspiracy theory. That's a Hillary Clinton comment. I mean, not that she says it, but what did Hillary Clinton call the other people that believe in God and do it? Oh, they're deplorable. Oh,
Yeah,
really?
the deplorables.
You notice how the names, I mean, again, this is right out of Rules for Radicals, which was her hero. It's take what we're doing, the bad people with the bad agenda, and yell it because they're going to say we're deplorable. We've disrespected God. We don't want truth and free speech. We want a double standard, and we say, gee, that's deplorable. So what does Hillary Clinton say? She says, oh, they're the deplorable. She takes what they are and pushes it back and yells it louder, and fortunately for her, has the news media behind her.
Mm-hmm.
This is right out of Rules for Radicals. We're the deplorables. They take, who came up with fake news? Well, I think Mr. Trump came up with it, didn't it?
Yeah, he did.
Now what do they say? Oh, it's fake news. Anything we say, oh, it's fake news. Excuse me. We're deplorable. So I mean, this is right in people's face to see it, and I'm finally a little tired of it's like when you can't see the blatantly obvious that's happening in front of your face. I mean, I give up. And again, I think this. One of my very intelligent friends says we still have a pretty good degree of freedom. So
compared to much of the world, we're a blessed people and a blessed nation, and we're one nation under God.
Yeah, and we're losing it in a hurry, but we do have that freedom still where we can believe in God and we can do whatever we want and we can focus on that. And this other stuff we can't change. And I should be smart enough to be in that camp. That's my desire to do that. But because I've had so much time on this, and every once in a while I see some good stuff that's very truthful, and I like stuff that's provable and factual. I want to share that stuff and kind of and maybe point up to certain things like I don't know whether Putin's a good guy or a bad guy, but I know what he's doing. If we lived in Russia, I'd be applauding what he's doing. I said, what are these guys on our border? We're not causing anybody any problems. Anyway,
well, with the midterm elections approaching, interesting. Fauci announced yesterday or the day before the pandemic's over, because remember Biden said that he was going to stop the pandemic. He was going to stop COVID dead in its tracks. Yet more people died under his rule than under Trump's rule. So
like I say, everything that they're saying is a lie. Why? It's pretty easy to stop something that never happened. I mean, in reality, I mean, again,
yes, and I don't mean to laugh, folks, because even one life lost is too many.
Yeah, I mean, what happened with COVID is nobody died of old age anymore. Nobody died of cancer or diabetes.
Or a motorcycle accident. The toe tag.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my neighbor fell off the roof and broke his neck and died, and it was COVID. Oh, anyway, so it's just it's hard, and the smartest thing for me to do would be to just ignore it and pray. but there is excuse me, some information that I'd like to share with you. When give me a call whenever you have a few minutes, and I'll share that. I'll put something together because I'd like you to see this. It's really quality information, and this is so difficult and it's so broad. It's very, very difficult for people to grasp, and particularly when everybody listens to their news, you're subtly getting brainwashed in that thing. So we know that, Putin's such a bad guy. Why? Well, they're telling us every day, but nobody's again, Socrates was one of the greatest teachers of all time, right?
Mm-hmm.
What did he do? He would find a topic where people were energized, pro and con, and he would have the students argue it out until they couldn't go anymore. And then every once in a while, just to mix it up, he'd take a guy who was pro one side and say, I want you to argue the other side, and make the other guy argue the other side, and go back and forth. And what does that do? First of
It
all,
makes you think. It makes you think.
two things. Certainly, it makes you think. But what it does is it gets a lot of information on the table, and it gets both sides. In other words, if you're arguing for something that you really believe in, you really want to get your points out there.
Right. Right. Hey,
And if you're arguing, go ahead.
Go ahead and finish.
Anyway, but the point is that is 180 degrees opposite of what we have. One side that can't even get a platform. And by the way, Fox, they'll do all this stuff. I mean, they're very, very good at massaging both sides. And it looks like, oh, well, Fox is good for the conservatives. No, Fox is just the best we've got. I mean, and frankly, One America News is much better, and so are some of the others. But not one of these news media, I don't care whether it's Fox or One America News even, One America News might. I don't get it. I wish I did. But none of them are. The focus on world news in every country ought to be the New World Order. Who are these people? What are they doing? Why are they doing it? And you don't get that from Fox. You know why? Because Murdoch, who owns Fox, is one of the players. So we're getting played from both sides.
We are. I missed something that Richard had typed in earlier when we were talking about the lunar cycle. Richard, one of your big fans, shared from April 29th to May 2nd. You have Pluto going retrograde, Mercury changing signs, a new moon, which is also a solar eclipse, and Venus changing signs. This is powerful energy taking place, which equals volatility.
Wow, what and that's right kind of in the window that I'm looking at. He said late April, early May, right?
April 29th to May 2nd, Pluto going retrograde, Mercury changing signs, a new moon, which is also a solar eclipse, and Venus changing signs. Powerful energy taking place in the heavens.
Yeah, I think he's really on to something there. My date was right around May 4th, as I recall. I have certain things that converge, which is, when that happens, it's usually meaningful. I call them energy points. And I had that happen right around May 4th. I probably got updated, but it's right there, early, really within the next week. I think we're likely to see. By the way, if you still see the, can I talk? If you still see the chart on the left,
Yep.
this one here.
S&P
What I was
500
going to
cash
say,
index. 60
yeah,
minute.
I don't know, and this could play out within that time frame. Is why I wanted to bring it up. This is 60-minute chart. So if this is a wave one down, and I think it is, and an ABC and a 2, then one way to look at this is, well, this is a wave 1 of 3, a 2 of 3, and we've got a big 3 of 3 down. Well, that didn't look like it happened. So this probably isn't a 1 and a 2. This is probably a wave 3 down to here when we had our low the other day. And then in ABC, and with today, we're way above this now, right? 40. We're near your number, right? 42.84.
Yeah.
On the cash S&P, or you were talking about the futures?
Let me. I'll have to check my chart.
But we're pushing up to this part here.
On the futures, the S&P is at 42.79.5. We anticipate resistance in this area, 42.80 to 85. And then we've got a weekly trading zone overhead at 42.97. That's where price is trying to go if it can get through the resistance created by the bearish cross that took place about 4:30 a.m. on April 26th.
Yeah. I can see, let me just see where my target is on, oh boy, look at that. I was just drawing in a channel line. Let me see if this fits the bill here. Yeah,
Guys,
this
if we can
would,
get above that previous bearish cross, then we're going to have a nice window of opportunity up to the zone. That's if we can get through it. And I'll draw that window of opportunity on before we close out the show today.
yeah, I can see that one that you're talking about at the 4290-ish area.
Right.
That I can see where that is on the channels. By the way, the last chart I wanted to bring up, if there's time.
Yeah.
Gold. Everybody's talking about gold, and I'm a guy who got on gold. Actually, got on gold before I got on the New World Order. I first heard the term New World Order from Henry Kissinger in 1972, and I got on gold before that when it was $35 an ounce. So I've been looking at gold for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, this, what's it doing now? This is this a daily chart?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it says daily.
It says daily. I hope I am. I'm just looking at this run here as potentially if gold's going to be bullish. And the question is, I mean, gold has been moving up from 2001, 1999 and 2001 at bottom. And it's kind of an 18-year cycle. And so we're way over and beyond that. And gold should be not what everybody's trying to make it out to be at some point. But I think it's got a little bit more to go here, and maybe a lot more if we get that summer rally from May. I've got targets. Again, it's just reaching out in the future. It doesn't mean anything until we get there. But in the late summer time period, August, really late August, early September, and expect a real bad fourth quarter. Now, if it's deflationary, all sorts of things come apart, but money has nowhere to go anymore. There's no safe money outlet. It used to be bonds, and that's certainly not the case. But this looks like a wave one, an A wave down, an ABC for a B wave here, and then a 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're making a fifth wave down. And I'd like to see it get down here and wins that. Well, that's in early May. This is right in the gentleman's window that you mentioned, and my window for where it looks like the market and gold would bottom. Of course, we're not seeing the market go down today, but if there is one more drop on this, it would make a wave 5 coming into time period here, and gold looks like it's trying to do the same thing. So I just thought I'd mention that as
Okay.
Something a little different. Let's talk this afternoon.
Okay.
Do you have any time? And
Yeah,
I'll try
just call me anytime, and
Yeah.
I should be able to pick up the phone.
Oh, good. Okay. And I wanted to put something like this together because there's really some, a lot of people, and I was going to say a lot of people don't necessarily want reality, and I'm not so sure whether I do either. I've been sampling the reality side, and to be honest, it's not a pretty picture. So I certainly can understand that, but I wanted to share that with you because I think this is something that you find. I mean, it's educational, and it's not a lie. It's this guy was in the club, so he's telling you some firsthand stuff, and he's saying what happens to people who go against. This happens to be the Freemasons, but who happens to go against them, it's a penalty of death. He says so. He says my life is on the line, and so you got to have a respect for somebody that believes in something enough to literally have his life on the line. So anyway,
Jack made a comment earlier about the 80, $90 billion worth of high-tech military equipment we left behind in Afghanistan.
Oh yeah.
And now the money we're going to send to Ukraine, and so we got to raise interest rates. I mean, even Dr. Seuss knows that You know, raising interest rates does not control inflation. It's just
No, I mean,
ridiculous.
ultimately, inflation has to run through its cycle, and then if you do what who was the Fed chairman then? Paul Volcker did in Reagan's early term in 1981, when you run interest rates up over 20%.
I got one of those
Finally,
pre-approved credit card. I get one. I get them probably one or two a day. I get a pre-approved credit card thing in the mail. 29%.
yeah, unbelievable. Oh, and how much can I get when I put my money in your bank? Oh yeah, we'll give you 0.5%, maybe.
James in
We're,
the chat box, he offered, we need a healthy pullback in gold. Currently, the ruble is being paired with 5,000 rubles to 1 gram of gold. So,
wow.
yeah, the ruble
Yeah.
has fallen on hard times, to say the least. And the dollar's strong.
Yeah,
And the dollar's strong.
I don't know. There's some serious history there that really goes back, and it's unfortunate now because when you have censorship, these people are doing everything they can to scour the information off the internet. I mean, we're not being told. Nobody knows the history of Ukraine. We just think of these poor little Russian people. I'm sorry, Ukrainian people there, which of course were Russian, being attacked by this evil person. And
You know,
first of all,
I had probably never said Ukraine 3 times in my life until this whole Hunter Biden thing came on the scene. I mean, I knew it
you
was a
think
country, I knew it existed, but I know nothing of the history of it and any of that.
you think if Somalia was in a, a real skirmish with Zimbabwe, uh, do you think it would be on our news all day long? I doubt it. I don't think if again France and Portugal had that. And by the way, are we closer to France and Portugal than we are to Ukraine and Russia?
Right.
I think we are. Russia's. They're like China. It's just it's. But again, if you think of it in terms of what they're doing, it makes all the sense in the world. And what are they doing? They're villainizing a guy who hasn't been a villain. Sorry, but name the 10 most evil things that Putin's done, and then you talk to most Americans, you can't name two or one. So it's just crazy what's being done here. But again,
Wayne, in
we're
answer to your question, have you read any books by Ann Coulter? I've not read any of her books, but I am aware of who she is, and I have seen her speak on TV.
well, all of our politicians are um, backing this agenda, you know, and that starts to tell you, um, you've got an evil guy in office right now. You've got some other people who have done some really bad things, who are Americans, and it's not even being mentioned.
Oh,
I mean, you know,
have you heard about that book, the quote unquote governor of Georgia? What's her name? Stacey Abrams.
right.
She read this Bodice Ripper uh, novel, and they were quoting it on TV the other night. It was kind of funny.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, and I shouldn't even mention this because people are so brainwashed that if you say anything uh, uh, like that, it's a horrible thing. And it's like when you get there and you start asking these people, really, I said, what do you really know about that? What do you really know about Russia? Oh, nothing. I mean, they won't tell you that. So I know everything. How do you know it? Well, I watch my news at night.
Yeah.
Oh, good. So I said, I give up. I'm sorry. I should never do this again on your show, but I just, you've got an intelligent audience, and it just breaks my heart when the America with the founding fathers and the things that we used to be taught in school, and were they perfect? I don't know. I'm not that old. I didn't know any of them.
Right.
I doubt it. Nobody's perfect. But I'll tell you one thing. These people were geniuses that put together a republic and a constitution that's as good a document as we've probably seen on this planet. And we've gone 180 degrees against it. And that is what bothers me. And it doesn't have a darn thing to do with Republican or Democrat. Both of them. It looks like, for some reason, there's always one party that's the one that they choose to do the thing. And obviously this time it's the Democrats. But 75% of the Republicans, I would imagine, are our own too, if not more. So
Right.
we're in a dangerous time of just what I've said for years. I follow the cycle, I follow the trend. We're losing our freedom, and it's very clear. So anyway, I'm here for freedom, Constitution. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you, and don't lie. And that's kind of what I stand for. Am I Republican or Democrat? I don't like either one of them right now. I wish we could clean the whole slate. I just think we've got a lot to do, and for some reason, half the country's backing the bad guys, which is always what happens in the cycle. By the way, that's why we have a cycle. Isn't that what happened back when the founding fathers left Great Britain? Guess what
Yeah.
percentage of the people they were? What, 5%, 3%?
Right.
97% stayed there and continued to get screwed by the government. Pardon me, but there you go.
There you go.
So anyway, my friend, I want
Thanks,
to
Garrett.
get this information to you because I think you'll find it really, really interesting.
Call me in a little while, and
I will. All right.
and I'll pick up.
What's a good time for you? A couple hour or two, something like that.
Yeah, give me an hour or two.
Okay, good.
All right.
Good, Dwayne. Thank you so much,
All right.
and all the best to your listeners.
Thank you so much, Garrett. You're always welcome here.
Appreciate it.
All right, brother. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay, guys, we've got the S&P 30-minute chart back up. Let's take a look at that area where we anticipated we would run into resistance. Previous bearish cross that led to an extended move. And there you go. This is one of the most important things I can teach you, okay? Well, one of, all right? At the beginning of the show, we talked about it. Okay, this thing was on fire. Now, doesn't mean we can't get through it. It's on the first approach that it's almost always resistance. The same is true of a bullish cross that leads to an extended move, okay? Here's a bullish cross. So if price dropped to this bullish cross, we would expect that area where the cross took place to be good support, at least on the first move down. Okay. Now we covered all the markets except we did talk about crude. Crude has now gone to the next zone overhead, 105.40/45. The CTA trigger last night was 102.50. We're talking about from the trigger, that's a $3,000 per contract move. Gold, I don't think we covered. The CTA long was $18.95, and we made it up to $120 per contract traded. Here's where we opened last night, and we came right down to the target at $18.77. So that's $700 per contract traded. But then we turn to blue and climbing, so these triggers are not very attractive. We want red and falling when we're shorting. We want blue and climbing when we're going long. Silver, we've rolled silver now to the N contract. Now the alerts that went out last night were for the old contract, which I should have rolled this days ago. But just to compare apples to apples, this is the K contract, which is what the CTA was for last night. When silver moves 2 pennies, it's $100. Okay, and so 23.26 was the trigger, and we dropped to 23. 23. So that's $150 per contract traded. Then we got back above the trigger. Almost made it to the target. We dropped to 23, so that's $1,300 per contract traded. And we got back above the trigger, but this time we got blue and climbing in the midst. Then we reach up, almost like an obsessive compulsive thing, just enough to get above the trigger. We got red and falling, okay? But you got to let price get below the BBC before you go short. And it took you right back down to the target again. Complete move all the way to the target. And the final market, the euro. Okay, I found a simple, I've struggled and I don't know why I didn't take the time to do this before. Okay, let me give you an example. 1.05, 600. If price drops to 1.05, 500, see, from 600 to 500, that's $125 per contract traded. So here's where we opened last night, and the trigger was 690, and we dropped to 505. So that's, I don't know, $300-400 per contract traded. Get back above the trigger, and from 690 we dropped to 5,000. So that's a 690 point drop, our tick drop, and 100 ticks is $125. So that's well over $500 per contract traded. And then we got back above the trigger. But this time we're above the BBC, so we don't want to short into the BBC, which is possible support. Got to let price get below the BBC. Blue and climbing has to turn to red and falling. And then the market gave us several good opportunities, but red and falling is now turned back to blue and climbing. So on the euro, price is pinched between resistance at the BBC and support at blue and climbing. One last look at the daily chart. We've overcome red and falling, okay? So you already know from the 30-minute chart, we've run into that resistance that we talked about. Highs 42.85. That's the number we talked about at the beginning of the show. Okay? But again, if buyers are committed, they'll keep pounding that 42.85 until they break through the 62% fib. The next resistance on the daily chart is at 43.20. And on the 30-minute chart, it's at 42.97. So we've got a very nice little window of opportunity up here. You know, let's get through that area good. And then something like 42.90 to 42.95. That's 5 points. $50 a point, $250 per contract traded. Okay. Again, to become a passport holder, that's a lifetime membership. That's family. You can do it today and you'll be in the members only workshop tonight. Just visit eminifuturestrading.com. If you have questions, call Valerie at 949-42-EMINI or send an email to support@cfrn.net. Now, yesterday we talked about competence doesn't compensate for insecurity. We've been talking about Saul and David and the jealous eye and all of that. Today, we're going to talk about how to keep from falling. Psalm 15:5. Whoever does these things will never be shaken. In Scripture, we read in Proverbs 29:1, If you get more stubborn every time you are corrected, one day you will be crushed and never recover. Hold on for me 1 second. Okay. If you get more stubborn every time you are corrected, one day you will be crushed and never recover. Proverbs 29:1. King Solomon was reputed to be the wisest man who ever lived. He wrote these words, but sadly, he didn't live by them. So, he crashed and burned. And if it could happen to Solomon, none of us are immune. Character has become a crucial issue today because so many political, business, and religious leaders have fallen so publicly. As a leader, you don't operate in a vacuum. You influence many others, and when you fall, they feel the repercussions. When a big oak tree falls, it takes all the little trees around with it. So how can you guard against falling? By not favoring gifts over character. Today we have an unhealthy tendency to celebrate and reward someone's gift and overlook their character. Both must be developed. Character is the sum total of your daily habits. Your character is what you do when nobody's looking. In Psalm 15, David gives us 8 traits to look for in a leader worthy of respect. Number 1, they have integrity. Number 2, they don't take part in gossip. Number 3, they don't harm others. Number 4, they speak up against wrong. 5, they honor those who walk in the truth. 6, they keep their promise, even at personal cost. 7, they're not greedy to profit at the expense of others. And 8, they're strong and stable. David concludes his psalm by saying, "Those who do these things will never be shaken." So that, my friend, is how you keep from falling. And that's our good word for the day. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading E-mini futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.